This is a video tutorial for the workout plans associated with multiple rep range training. When you open up the workout plan, you'll see the target body parts listed at the top. For our first example, we'll be dealing with chest, triceps, and abs. For our second example, we'll be dealing with back and traps. Underneath that, you'll see two links. The first link is for video exercise demonstrations. If you click this link, it'll go right to the website, and you can see video demos of all the exercises listed in your workout plan. The second link is for the mid exercise form. If any of the exercises listed in the workout plan cause either pain or discomfort, or the equipment's not available to you at your gym, just click this link, fill out the form, it'll go right to my email, where you make sure that these exercises don't find their way into any of your future workout plans. Underneath that, we have the note, always perform 2 to 3 super light, high rep warm sets prior to each body part, not each exercise. These sets are not to be counted toward your total sets and serve as true warm-ups to help prevent injury. So basically, we're going to perform these 2 to 3 super light, high rep warm sets before we hit any body part. So before we do chest, before we get into this work right here, we're going to do these 2 to 3 super light sets. Before we do triceps here, we're going to do our 2 to 3 super light sets. Like I said in some of the other video tutorials, since you're doing chest and triceps together, and the triceps are used also while training chest, you may not have to do 2 to 3 super light warm sets. It might be 1 or 2, just because the triceps are a secondary muscle used in any of the chest exercises. If this was chest and say biceps here, I would do the 2 to 3, but since it's chest and triceps, you might be able to get away with 1 to 2. But once these warm-up sets are out of the way, we want to get into the multiple rep range training. The multiple rep range training is split up into blocks. Our first block is right here. Okay, it's the strength training sets. We want to be doing our rest time for the warm-up sets is 1.5 to 2 minutes, so that'll be here. And our rest time for the working sets, 3 to 4 minutes. That would be here. Now it says flat barbell press, our first exercise, 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, 6 to 8 reps. This is a low rep range, okay? But we're not training to failure. So we're not going to pick up something super heavy and do 6 to 8 reps to failure. We're going to pick up something where, it's going to be, heavier weight, but 6 to 8 reps, we're going to stop a rep or 2 shy before failure. So we do that, we get our warm-up sets out of the way, this amount of rest time, and then we get into our heavier work. 3 increasingly heavier working sets to failure in a 3 to 5 rep range. All right, now these are taken to failure. Each set increasingly heavier, that's what we want to shoot for. So if we're doing flat barbell press, would say, let's just make it easy, 225. We're doing 225 on the bar, and on our first working set to failure, we fail at 5 reps. All right, we add a little bit more weight, we try to fail at maybe 4, and on the last set, we want to fail at 3. So the goal of this is, like I said, 3 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, and we want to fail in this rep range. All right, so that's a total of 5 sets, and then we move on. Now we move on to our more muscle building rep range. Our rest times in this block are going to be 1 to 1.5 minutes for our warm-up sets. So boom, that'll be right here and right here. And rest time between all our working sets is 2 to 3 minutes. So that would be here and here. All right, so what we're going to do is incline dumbbell press. 1 warm-up set, 10 to 12 reps. All right, again, we want to stop a rep or 2 shy, before failure. So it's not too light, it's not too heavy. It's always going to be good quality work. And then we get into our working sets. 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, 6 to 8 reps. Now you see 6 to 8 reps here, and you see 6 to 8 reps here as well. But the difference between this 6 to 8 and this 6 to 8 is that this is a warm-up set. So we're going to stop before failure. These are working sets to failure, so we're going to train to failure. Failure defined as, you can perform 6 to 8 reps, but you cannot perform another rep. So if you get 8 reps, you fail at 8 reps, you can't perform 9. Where these, you're stopping a rep or 2 shy before failure. So 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure in a 6 to 8 rep range. So in the first one, you pick up, let's say, 70-pound dumbbells, and let's say you fail at 7 reps on the first one. All right, that's great. You perform 7, you can't physically perform 8. You're still in your target rep range, which is good. we want to try to go increasingly heavier. So the next set, maybe you pick up 75s or 80s, and let's say you fail at 6, you can't physically perform 7. Boom, you're in that rep range. We're good to go. There's a total of 8, 5 plus these 3 sets. That gives us our 8 sets in the running set column. As you can see that the rep range is starting to climb. Our sets to failure here were 3 to 5. Our sets to failure here 6 to 8. They're going to continue to climb. Next exercise, incline dumbbell flies. Again, 1 warm-up set, 10 to 12 reps. Good quality work. Stop 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. We're using, after that we're going to take a 1.5 minutes, and we get into our working sets. 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, 8 to 10 reps. Again, the rep range continues to climb. 2 increasingly heavier, so we want to go heavier each time. That's the goal, and we want to fail within this rep range. So now we have 8 plus these 3 sets gives us a total of 11. And like I said, we went from 3 to 5 rep failure to a 6 to 8 rep failure to an 8 to 10 rep failure, so the rep range is climbing. Thus the name multiple rep range training. Now we come down to our last block for chest. High rep range isolation sets. Rest time between all sets is 1 to 1.5 minutes. All right. Sometimes you may even want to go lower. We're going to pick an isolation exercise like pec deck. We're going to do 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure in a 15 to 18 rep range. All right. So again, we're failing in a higher rep range. We went from 3 to 5 to 6 to 8 to 8 to 10, and now we're trying to fail in that 15 to 18 rep range. 2 sets, increasingly heavier, gives us our total of 13 sets. Our second example with back and traps, same thing. All right. We do our 2 to 3 super light warm-up sets before we do back, and then we have traps down here. You could do 1 to 2 because you use the biceps when you train back, but you're also depending on the exercise, if you're doing pull-ups, stuff like that, you may be also using your traps. You got to go by preference. If your traps feel real cold and stiff, do the 2 to 3 light warm-up sets. If they feel like they're warm, you feel like you can get away with it, do your 1 to 2. All right. So now again, strength training sets. Rest time between the warm-ups 1.5 to 2 minutes. That's here. And our rest time between the working sets 3 to 4 minutes. That is here. 2 increasingly heavier warm-up sets, 6 to 8 reps. Again, it's not taking the failure, 1 to 2 reps shy. And then we get onto our working sets. 3 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, 3 to 5 rep range. All right. We want to each set we want to get increasingly heavy. That's the goal. You may overshoot yourself where you do a weight, you fail at 5, and in the next weight you may fail at 3, and then you have 1 more set. So what do? What I would do is I'd stick at the same weight. Yeah, you didn't do 3 increasingly heavier, but none of this is set in stone. You got to be able to adjust as you go. We want to try to get this 3 increasingly heavier working sets to failure, but if you can't increase, it's not the end of the world. We just want to try to stay in this rep range and make sure we fail within this rep range. Here's our 5 sets. We get on to our muscle building sets. Again, rest times for warm-ups. It's right here and right here. And our rest time for the working sets, 2 to 3 minutes. Right here and right here. All right. So what we're going to do is pull-ups, 1 warm-up set, 10 to 12 reps. Nothing, stop 1 or 2 reps shy of failure. And then we do our increasingly heavier working sets to failure in the 6 to 8 rep range. These pull-ups can be either weighted or assisted. Like I said, do what you have to do in order to fail at this. If you're really good at pull-ups, you may have to add some weight. If you're not too good at pull-ups and you're still trying to build up the strength to do a free weight pull-up, you'll be doing the assisted. But each time, you just want to make sure you fail in the 6 to 8 rep range. Back on the seated cable rows. All right. Same thing. 1 warm set, 10 to 12 reps, 1 to 2 reps shy of failure, and then our 2 increasingly heavier working sets to failure. Again, 3 to 5 rep failure, 6 to 8 rep failure, 8 to 10 rep failure. The rep range is climbing. Come down here, same thing. High rep range isolation sets. We're going to do our stiff arm pull downs. Again, the rep range climbs to 15, 18. And then since it's back, it's a bigger muscle group, we have added sets. I added in this close grip pull downs here. Again, 15 to 18 reps for a total of 15 sets total. All right. Sometimes at these rep ranges will be different. Sometimes you may see 18 to 20, 20 to 25. That will all be specified in your workout plan.